Hello everybody, welcome back to another Midnight Review presented by Glasshouse Films. Carson, Nick, and Incredibles 2.
Woo!
I was expecting when it was announced, I was like, why am I not as excited as I feel like I should be?
I feel like we were it was getting hyped up years before we ever got a trailer for it.
Yeah.
Like people were talking about yeah, it's gonna get made.
And I think
nowadays I'm just kind of like, I'm not unopposed.
Yeah.
The Incredibles is one of the better Disney Pixar films.
It's my favorite Pixar film, but it's not like, oh my god, it's my favorite. It's just like, out of the Pixar films, that's the one I like the most.
Yeah, agreed.
And, you know, I'm like, cool, you're making a I think it really dropped off about the time that it's like, oh, no time has passed between the first one and the second one.
I think my biggest thing is I've only watched the trailers that we've seen in theaters, but we've seen like 3 different trailers in theaters.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping, you know, Disney generally, especially with the Disney Pixar films, have had pretty good, somewhat non-tropey storytelling. Like the kind of storytelling that a parent can take their kid to go see the movie and be like, wow, that was actually like a good story. And I also enjoyed watching that movie. Based on these trailers, I was kind of like, are they just foregoing that? Because the story kind of looks like...
It looks like Mr. Mom with superheroes.
Yeah, just like we want Helen Parr to be the face of superheroes, and everybody else has to deal with the fallout of that. It's like, I've heard that story in like Rocket Power. Like every Nickelodeon show really has had that kind of story. And that's all stuff that I got when I was a kid. And I hope that it somehow gets turned on its head. I'm not I'm trying so hard to not just discount it going in.
But you can also
I want it to be good, but
you can also see a lot of elements that's like, okay, that scene is not right next to this scene.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of piece together the film in your mind and you're like, okay, he isn't talking with Frozone and managing Jack right after they've said, Helen, you're going to be the head of this, and right before he goes to talk to Edna Mode about a new suit for Jack.
Yeah.
You know, those scenes are 5-10 minutes apart from each other, spread out throughout the film, and you're like, man, really?
Yeah, so I hope it's good.
Usual disclaimer, hope it's good.
Hope it's good.
You know, but...
I'm not as stoked for it as so many other people are.
Yeah.
But I really like the first one.
Oh, yeah.
So I really don't have a reason to go into this with awful expectations. But for some reason I'm just not as stoked as I feel like I should be, or as other people are.
Yeah.
But man, I hope we come back and it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That would be nice.
Alright, let's go see this thing.
Did you wash your hands? With soap? Did you dry them?
And we're back.
We are back.
There's a lot of ways to kind of put how I feel about this film. First of all, if this is what the original Incredibles was, if this is what that movie was, I think it would have been really good. I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Yeah.
However, it's not. That first one is kind of transcendent as far as superhero films.
The sentiment in this movie was the same as the first.
Yeah, this isn't sorry, not Avengers. This isn't The Incredibles 2. It's Incredibles 1.5, because at the end of the film, we're kind of at the exact same place we were at the end of in the first one.
This movie starts before the first movie ends.
I mean, the last scene of the film, but yeah.
I mean, literally before, with the whole when she meets that boy. Yeah, that's before the Underminer.
That's a little bit of a framing device and kind of like a.
But it's not. But it's not even like a flashback though. I'm not talking about the actual opening. I'm talking about
how they framed it.
When they're in the parking lot thing. But anyways, that is super inconsequential. Movie had a lot.
You know what? You said it. This movie is inconsequential.
It really is.
Like, okay.
There was some really cool, like, the thing that stuck out to me before this gets lost and us picking this apart.
Yeah.
It had a couple really cool superhero fight scenes
And
that a lot of
we will
other
get to
superhero
that.
movies don't
Yeah.
have.
We will definitely get to that and spend some time on that.
But it was just in between everything else.
The one other thing before we really get into this that I wanted to bring up is I wasn't anticipating this movie until Brad Bird, the writer and director, and Disney told me I should be anticipating this. Mm-hmm. If this had gone through the normal press cycle of, hey, Incredibles 2 is getting made. Oh, sweet. Hey, we just thought of this really cool story and we'd like to tell it to you with The Incredibles. Sweet. No, it was all about, oh, I don't want to do an Incredibles 2 until the story is worthy. I don't, every year just build up. And I'm like, I didn't need a lick of that. But the moment you told me that I should be anticipating this, you put that expectation in my head.
Yeah, and it was really like a very... It was, like I said earlier, like Nickelodeon has told this story in like every single one of their TV shows.
To this film's credit, there wasn't as much of that in this film as I thought there would be. However, that is a significant part to this film.
It's just a big chunk of it is like, this isn't... we're not even getting close to spoiler territory.
No,
it's
we're
like,
not.
Basically, Mrs. Incredible.
What's the
Mrs.
story?
Incredible goes, maybe superheroes aren't legal for a reason. It's the law. We got to follow it. Mr. Incredible just wants to partially relive the glory days and partially like actually do kind of what they did at the end of the first movie. Like he wants to be like a super family.
Yeah.
And they get into that big argument, and then they get sponsored, I guess, the superhero revival, and they pick Mrs. Incredible.
Pepsi dropped us.
They pick. Yeah, they're all sitting in the car ripping their patches off. But yeah, they pick Mrs. Incredible for like they give a good reason.
They do.
I'm glad that it didn't get into the weird like what's a mom's role in the family, what's a dad's role in the family.
They did not.
They could have gone that route and been. Yeah. They did drop a couple like dads or substitute parents kind of thing, and I was like, get off that shit a little bit. But they pick her for what is a pretty pragmatic reason. Mm-hmm. And she immediately turns face on it and decides that she wants to go back to being a superhero. And then cue rest of the movie,
which
pretty much everything
so predictable.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's just super predictable.
Like every beat of the film, and that's fine. I mean, for instance,
it's fine because
Upgrade was predictable.
Yeah,
but we had a fun time getting to where the movie was going. Mm-hmm. This film was like, man, we are taking our time with this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, okay, a lot of the details of the movie, there were a lot of little things that I really liked. Mm-hmm. And we'll get back to it.
I feel like The Incredibles has done the details like pretty well.
Yeah.
In general, across both movies. Mm-hmm. The fights were really cool.
Yeah, the clothing. I really liked the look of all of the fabric and how it worked. How it clung in certain places. Anyway, but I like the texture of the world. You could say it's thick with texture.
It's very thick. A lot of different kinds of textures.
Yes.
Solid textures.
Solid.
Jiggly textures.
So.
Good, thick, varied textures. This movie is gonna be, it's like a Lola Bunny for another generation. Right, you know what, Lola Bunny's Jessica Rabbit.
No, what's disturbing is it's Lola Bunny and Jessica Rabbit for the same generation.
Ooh, yeah.
Anyway, so I really love the texture of the world. It does the same great job in the first one as it does in this one.
Mm-hmm. The 60s, like the 50s, 60s retro.
Yeah, the Art Deco stuff. Yeah,
really
retro futurism, as you said. Yeah, it was was really cool. But it's just...
But you gotta get through the plot to see it. Like, that's the thing.
And
like,
by the end, when we finally get through everything else, I'm like, cool. This is cool. I like what's happening. I like team stuff. But that's why I really like Avengers 2 compared to Avengers 1. Avengers 2 is a lot of team stuff. This film, it's like, okay, we went through all the stuff we needed to in the first one.
That's the thing, is like stuff. The beginning and ending of the movie, pretty cool as far as the action went.
Oh yeah.
The middle with like the Helen Parr doing superhero stuff, you know, whatever the dad's name is, doing dad stuff, Mr. Incredible doing dad stuff. And it's like, oh, and look, now we're gonna deal with, you know, the trials and tribulations of each. You're like, oh my god, we gotta stop this. And the whole bringing the Edna into the movie. She doesn't have a huge part. But
she
her
didn't
part
have
in
a
the
huge
movie
part
had
in the
nothing,
first one either.
But I mean, there's like no reason for her to even be in this movie because for just a stupid little semantic reason. But it was like a waste of like 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it was okay. Let's get through this chunk because
like,
we
hey,
know the next chunk is probably going to be cool.
Oh, hey, member this character?
Yes, it is so full of hey, member.
Hey, member this? Like, yeah. Hey, member Frozone, who is really like the true hero of this movie in a lot of ways. That guy's overpowered. I'm just going to throw that out there.
So the story, it's just okay.
From a superhero standpoint, it's... I mean, I honestly, the best part of the movie for me was the action stuff. I could just watch a supercut of that.
And right before we get to that, still the best Fantastic Four movie. Mm-hmm. Like, easily. I mean, they do nail the family stuff. As much as we're like, come on, let's get through it already, they do nail it. So it isn't that it's bad, it's just that that's the story. Now.
Especially because, like, we get it.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. We did the family stuff.
And I feel like we got a much better version of family stuff in the first one with, like, the, you know, the same arguments.
Yeah, it wasn't like like, the problems were more, like, significant. It was, because, you know, you're dealing with, like, a bunch of kids that are told, like, not to use their powers, and a bunch of parents that, like, made their living off of powers, and a lot of very real stuff, like the death of a bunch of heroes, the, like, having a sidekick when everybody's super, nobody's super, like, the villain was, like, compelling.
Yeah, that's what I mean by, like, transcendent.
Yeah, and this was like, oh, hey, here's, like, minor family problems, like, literally, like, math family problems.
The first one, the whole thing with Helen thinking that her husband is cheating on her. Like but it's built in and it moves through it so well.
This is like a worthy entry as far as like Disney Pixar movies go, but not. But it's not as good as the first one.
Yeah, the first one is
in kind of a league of its own.
Absolutely.
And I never really,
this one is like,
didn't realize it.
Good.
I didn't realize it until like I was saying before. I was like, oh, you know, The Incredibles didn't really make like a lasting impression. But like halfway through this movie, I sort of realized like, man, I don't feel any of the stuff about this movie that I felt about the first one.
Yeah.
It was very much, for me, it was like Avengers 2. In that the characterization is just all over the place. The story is hot garbage, but hey, you got everybody in one place and they're all kicking ass together. That's kind of cool.
Now, speaking of kicking ass, the fight scenes were really good.
They are really good.
Like,
but the thing is there's like a solid 45 minutes like without them.
Yeah. And not substituted with anything that I'd rather be seeing other than the action
like the
scene.
the first kind of Elastigirl crime fighting scene.
Yeah.
So cool.
Okay, let's actually go into this a little bit. So the first one, it's a very pedestrian thing.
It's like your Spider-Man subway kind of thing.
Yeah, it is the most traditional sort of like superhero's gonna superhero without a clear villain or without a villain.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And for the first time ever, I was like, I wouldn't mind a Mr. Fantastic by himself or a Plastic Man movie. That's just stuff like this. And everything Elastigirl does, I'm like, wow, is this what you were working on for like 13 years? Which also they brought up before the movie started.
They brought up how hard they were working on the movie before the movie started.
It's like, stop patting yourselves on the back. The credits haven't even come up yet, guys. But yeah, awesome fight scenes. Really well done. The camera work was incredible. And then, yeah, when we get to see a lot more superheroes doing stuff, although there's one, and we'll discuss this when we're done with this, that I'm a little bit like, wait a minute, why didn't they just do X with the end? But anyway,
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
Too.
But one of the
Another
things
case
that
of someone that's probably like really overpowered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something else that I thought was funny is that they directly address like a superhero that has like one very specific power, but that's kind of it. And I feel like they do it in kind of a funny way.
Yeah.
But I think if you're a fan of the first one, and if you want to have your kids watch something that's not
really
garbage,
not a terrible movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like,
it is good.
It was so hyped up, and
Yes.
about,
it's a victim of its own advertising.
yeah, I would like 40% of it was like good,
Yeah,
and the rest of it was just not like outright bad.
It was the difference between great and just mediocre. And it's like, great, we're swimming in these waters. But
Yeah.
I liked it for the most part, and I would definitely say if you're a fan of the original, go in with lowered expectations, you'll probably have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Like, it's not gonna be like, the storytelling is not as poignant as the first one. I think the action is better.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
the most part, there's significantly less of certain main characters. Like, and I it's not too much of a spoiler, but there's a lot more focus on Elastigirl.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of like the Mr. Incredible stuff.
To be fair,
There's not a lot of-
the last one was a lot his
Yeah.
movie though.
There's not a lot of
So it balances.
dash in it, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
He seems to run slightly faster than other people.
I think the reason there might not have been as much dash is because they did change voice actors for it.
Yeah.
So they might not have wanted to bring too much attention
Well, I
to
mean,
that.
yeah, just even, you don't really see him doing a lot of stuff. It's weird when the two most people doing power stuff is like, not necessarily fighting, but just like powers you see the most, like Elastigirl, and then like Jack.
Yeah.
There's
I
like
will say,
huge
a lot of
Jack stuff was pretty alright. I like
yeah,
it. It was
there
funny. Like,
as that plot went along, I had more and more fun with it. And then so go see it. I do think it's a good film. I don't regret having seen it. It's just,
for sure.
y'all built this one up.
It's just very built up. If you're not a diehard Incredibles fan, I wouldn't say see it in theaters.
Yeah. So before we wrap this up, Pixar has a tradition of putting a little short before every one of their movies. I don't think I have ever been so horrified by a short before. And I've seen some messed up things, but this one was just
I'm still trying
baffling.
to pick it apart. I don't understand what was going on.
I get it. I get the story you were telling.
I still don't understand the story.
I'm
clearly there's like a hard like metaphor I'm missing.
I get it. It's Pixar brand, like, beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Love the textures.
No
These
dialogue, that kind of thing,
Yep.
you know.
These are, to me, a lot of the time they're like the benchmarks for like, okay, we got to test our new engine out. Let's put it into a short. Looks beautiful. Made me very hungry. Confounding. Like, next level confounding.
Yeah.
As I said, I get it. I do. There was a better way to tell that story. And
I don't know.
So
It's
Like,
like a
before-
Pixar Twilight Zone story.
Before
Like, I don't understand
The
it.
Incredibles started, I'm just horrified. I'm like,
I know, I was like,
what the
oh god,
what is happening? And it stuck with me.
I was thinking about it partway through the film as well. I was like, oh man, that was weird. Like,
so weird. Okay, but I would like to see what that filmmaker does in the future. I loved the art design of it, the look of the people to it, loved it. Very, very thick looks. Anyway, so next week, I think next week is Jurassic World 2.
no.
Ba-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na.
Ugh.
No.
I'm tired of that. I'm tired of the trailer where they're looking at like a small-ish hole in the wall and they're like, "It's a T-Rex."
Like,
And then she's
fool, it
literally
is
like,
not.
"It's not a T-Rex. You don't have to be a whale biologist to know that that's not a T-Rex."
yes, so, woo! We'll talk about that more next week. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/glassfilmshouse, facebook.com/glasshousefilms, and Twitter @glasshousefilms. Thank y'all so much, and we'll see you next week.
No.
Na, na, na.